Sunday, January, what did you say, 27th, and we're continuing on about the courtship
Yeah.
of Grandma Horn. Okay.
And my father, I don't know how long they went together, but I do know, apparently it was in the spring because they were sitting out on the porch, so it had to be warm weather. And they had coats on. She had to put it in the pocket. And they were married on January 1st, 1880, at 7 o'clock in St. Michael's Cathedral.
For goodness sakes. Do you know who the priest was who officiated?
No.
You don't?
Now, wait a minute. Might have been Father Conity. But I'm not positive about that.
You said that no member of
no
his
member
family.
Of no one. No member of the family knew they were going to be married. Because my father was young, and so was my mother.
How old was your father?
My father was 21.
Oh, and your mother?
My mother was 22. And his people didn't like it because there was Uncle Dan, Uncle Dave, Uncle Mike, Jimmy, and my Aunt Margaret. And my Uncle Dan was the father of the family, and he was only 17 when his father died. And his mother died 2 years later. So it was a tremendous burden, and I can understand it on him.
And they expected your father, in other words, to continue to
Help
the support of the family.
That's right.
What was your father doing at the time he was married?
I don't know what he was doing at the time he was married, but I know he was a printer.
Oh, yeah.
Now, whether he was doing that at that time, or whether he learned that trade later, I don't know.
Do you think that he thought that if he told them he was going to be married, they'd have put him on a...
They would have. They would have.
Well, how did they react to the news?
How did they react to what?
The news of his marriage.
They didn't like it. But they were, he was fortunate enough to have his cousin, Judge Keating, Judge Patrick M. Keating, as his best man. And Katie Sheehan as the bridesmaid. She meant nothing to the family, I'm sure, excepting to my mother. And my mother told my father, I will never live with you as man and wife until your family knows you're married. And she kept that promise. So 3 weeks later, the family knew it. Because my brother John was born October 17th, 1880. And they were married January 1st, 1880. So that gave her that leeway for my father to tell his people. And I presume they were very hurt. I don't know. My mother didn't say that. And they went, my father and mother, the property, you probably don't remember where the property was at the corner of Ferry and Chestnut Street. Do you remember that?
Ferry and Chestnut?
Yes.
Gee, I don't see this moving. Oh, yeah, I guess it is. Hold it just a minute. I'm going to try.
Ferry and Chestnut Street.
Chestnut Street, okay. Mm-hmm.
My grandfather owned that entire area.
Your grandfather owned it?
Yeah.
Hold it just a minute. I'm gonna. Okay. All right, Annie. Talking about the property.
There were two houses on that property.
Berry Street, she said.
One was
no coaching.
One was a small house. I don't know how many rooms. And the other one was a large house, which was divided into smaller apartments and rented out. I don't know who lived in the smaller house, but I know that my mother and father lived in the upper part of the smaller house. And I don't know how many years they lived there. Because they owned a house down on Norwood Street, and that's where my mother exhibited her ESP.
Your mother?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
My brother Dan was delicate, and whether he had an allergy or what, I don't know. But they left there and they built that house on Armory Street. And
they left where?
They left Norwood Street.
Norwood Street.
They lived on Norwood Street. And they left there and built the house on Armory Street.
On Armory Street?
Yeah, at 374 Armory Street.
Oh, 374, right.
Yeah. And
who built this house?
I don't know.
Oh, I see. They had it built, in other words.
I don't know that either.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. Perhaps my father built it. I don't know.
Goodness sakes.
Because he built a barn.
Yeah.
It was a good barn too. I remember the barn. And
tell me about Grandma's ESP.
Well, she woke up one morning and she said to this was when they were living on Armory Street, my father, John, you better go down to Norwood Street. Someone is in the house. So he kind of poo-pooed it a little bit, but she said, no, you go down and see. He went down and sure enough, someone was living in the house.
Oh, I seem to recall you told us this on the other tape.
French people were living in there. They couldn't speak English, and of course my father couldn't speak French.
So he couldn't evict them.
No. They had no key to the front door, but they went in and out the window. And so my father went and found a policeman on Main Street, because that was the main part of the whole city.
Sure.
At that time. And because when my father and mother built that house up on Armory Street, that was way off in the sticks. That was a long ways up from there. But the policeman came in and spoke to him. I don't know whether he was a Frenchman or not. I haven't any idea. And told them that they'd have to get out. And my mother said they did a lot of gibberish in French, but they did get out.
Did she ever show any other indications that she possessed this ESP?
Yes, there were indications, but I haven't thought about that in a long time. Perhaps I'll think of it later.
Did anybody else in the family ever appear to
Well,
possess this?
I have a little myself.
Oh, really?
But I wouldn't boast about it.
Well,
Although when Marcia was getting married, I said, I woke up and I was heartbroken that morning. This is when she was marrying George. She might be very hurt if she knew I said it.
I'm going to put this on again. It's on again.
Okay.
Did his family were upset about it?
Oh, yes.
Did they grieve over it, or did they
They
show
were,
any resentment towards your
yes.
mother? Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh.
They resented it for years. Although my Uncle Dan came up to visit us every single Sunday afternoon. And he had a little grocery store. I don't know whether you can remember, a small store on the very corner of Chestnut and Ferry Street. Just a little wooden...
Well, I don't imagine it'd be there anymore, would it?
Oh, no, the whole thing is gone.
Oh, no, yeah.
But you would have ridden... you probably would have ridden up Liberty Street if you were on the bus or trolley. If you had known or realized whose it was, you'd have thought of it. But he had this little store there. He never, I don't think he made enough money there to taxes. It was something that was good for him because he was older, and I don't know what he had done before. Whether he had worked for the railway or what, I don't know. I know my Uncle Dave was a policeman in New York City for years.
But your Uncle Dan had this little store, and he came up every Sunday to see you?
Every
for
Sunday.
Goodness sakes. Well, how long after your wedding did this start? Your mother's wedding did this start? Did he,
I don't know that.
I see.
I don't know that, no. But to my knowledge, he came up every single Sunday. And he had, he was a very proud man. And he had a swallowtail coat. You know what I mean by a swallowtail
No.
coat? Well, let me see. He had a coat with the back. The front came down and buttoned normally here at the waist. And then the back would go down longer.
Oh.
And in that back, there would be 2 pockets inside.
Oh.
So he could have something in there, nobody would know there was anything in there. But he always had a grab bag. You know what a grab bag is?
Oh, sure.
And one for each of us. Of course, there were only a few pieces of candy, but he was not a wealthy man.
Yeah.
And, of course, we always looked forward to it. And then he'd stay, and my mother and my father would cry. No, my mother and my Uncle Dan would cry about my father and all that sort of thing. And,
of course, this was after you, naturally after your
yes,
father
after my
died,
father was gone, sure. To my memory, this was. And, but he was a good man, a very good. They were very good people. Morally, they were very, very good. But, and I can see where they didn't feel as though they could afford to part with any financial help, although actually you'd feel that, well, here, these are my brother's children, and they might need underwear, they might need mittens, they might need shoes, but I don't know. I don't know what their feeling was on that. To me, they were always nice people. And my Aunt Margaret was very fond of me. And she would write me a postcard, come down and see me. I lived only up on Armory Street, and she lived down in Charleston.
I remember that. Daddy used to take us there once in a while.
Yeah. And I would go down and spend the day with her. And she was very, very nice. And I can remember her buying me, because my mother could have made it and would have made it gladly and probably wanted to make my first communion dress. But she wanted to buy it. And she brought it down to Smith & Murray's. Smith & Murray's is a store that I don't think your father would remember it, but I don't think your mother would ever remember it because it was so long ago. But it was a beautiful store at the corner of East Court and Main.
Which one? This is a departure a little bit, Amie, but let me ask this question. Which one of the family, either brothers or most particularly your uncles, do you think my father was most like, if anybody? Did he resemble anybody in your father's family?
I don't think so.
No.
Do you, Mary?
Not from the pictures I've seen.
No.
No, I don't mean so much in
You
look.
mean characteristics?
I mean characteristics, personal characteristics.
Well, in the first place, they were all honorable gentlemen, all of them. And your father was an honorable gentleman. But well, I couldn't say that my uncles were generous because they didn't have that amount of money to be generous.
No, well then, as long as the answer doesn't come easily, then perhaps there is none. I mean, he probably didn't resemble any one of them enough to say he was most like this one or most like that. I'm just curious, that's all.
I don't think so. Do you, Miner?
Well, of course, I didn't know
Yeah, she
remember
didn't-
from the picture.
no.
She's talking about little traits, character traits
Yeah.
that they might have had. I don't know them, Mother.
No.
They were very honest.
But that's not what she means.
No. That's
Well,
all right,
that's
but these
one
were...
of the,
right.
one of the things that she means. They were very honest and very honorable men, my
Yeah,
uncles.
you said that. Yeah.
That's right.
Where were we?
Where were we? When your father died, of course, that was a terrible tragedy. Your mother had all the children. That was awful. What happened? Do you know?
To my father?
Yes.
He had pneumonia. And
And
he died in 3 days.
of course, in those days, they had no antibiotics or anything.
No.
Died in 3 days. And
Piece of paper.
did your
Any
did your father's family rally in any way to help?
I don't think so.
In other words, your mother had
The
this
burden
burden
herself.
herself entirely.
I think so.
Boy, I tell you, in today's world, she'd have been on welfare. Number one, first of all her kids would have been fed.
Not my mother.
No, not your mother, but things. Not grandma. I take it back, Margaret. Oh, well, let's see now. We went all the way down through, and I don't want to tire you on any. Uncle Dan, and we got who was next in line? Was it Uncle Jet?
Uncle Chuck.
Oh, we just about got to Uncle Jet then. Why don't you tell us a little about Uncle Jet?
He was a self-sufficient man. He, as I think I said, he worked for the Liberty Mutual.
No, you never told us about Uncle Jet. We got as far as Uncle Dan, and we went off on little side tracks, the courtship, what have you.
He graduated from Boston University.
Did he go there directly after high school?
No, he didn't. He went to work after high school. And, let me see now. He went to work. And then, I think he went, let me think now. Let me get this straight.
Did you say Liberty Mutual or what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual, but I was wondering what, that was the insurance company that he worked for in Boston. He worked, when he left high school, he went to work for the Springfield Printing and Binding Company. That was a bookstore
Oh.
at the corner of, it was at the corner of, right behind the Kimball, of Bridge and Dwight Street.
Mhm.
And he worked there for quite a while, for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
And then he left there. By this time, oh, and then he went to work for Spalding, A.G. Spalding, Sporting Goods.
Oh, yes, sir.
And he had a very nice job up there. Let me see, what was he doing? Purchasing agent? I'm not sure whether he was the purchasing agent or the assistant purchasing agent. I'm not sure about that. But then he started going with Catherine Van Curen. You never knew her, did you?
No, but I've heard mentioned.
She was a very nice girl. And she was crazy about chocolate. Well, they went together married for 14 years.
Oh, he was nothing like your father. Your father was a short courtship.
He wanted to become a doctor.
Uncle Jack?
Yes. And, of course, to become a doctor would take, I remember he had not graduated from high school.
Oh, wait a minute. He had graduated from high school by this
No.
time.
No, he hadn't.
Oh, when he started going with Catherine?
No.
Oh, because
He
we
left
picked...
high school.
Oh, I didn't know Uncle Jet left high school.
Yes, in his first year. He left high school.
Oh, I see.
And,
Where did he go to work for after he left high school?
I think he worked for Springfield Printing and Binding.
Oh, that was the first job.
Yeah.
Well, how old was he then? In his first year, he must have been no more than 14 years old.
Probably not.
He went for
Of
printing.
course, there was no such law at that
Right,
time.
I realized that. And then, how long did he work at the binding company?
Oh, he worked there maybe 4 or 5 years.
And then he went to
And then he went to
Spalding.
A.G. Spalding.
And worked there how long?
Oh, he worked there quite a while.
Well, when did he
All
return
the
to high
time
school?
that he was going to, he didn't. All the time he was going to with Catherine Van Curen. And
When did he first start going? How old was he when he first started going with Catherine Van Curen?
Oh, he was probably 17.
And he went with her for 14 years?
14 years. Then she encouraged him to take an examination. There was a regent's examination in New York that would give you if you passed it, a high school diploma. And he took it and passed it. Then,
After only 1 year of formal schooling
Yeah.
in high school. Right.
he was a very smart fellow. You know, in those days, Mary, the Cathedral High School had they had an examination at the end of the 9th grade. I took it myself and I forgot what the name of it is.
Was it some kind of qualifying test?
It was a qualifying test, but it had a name.
Aptitude, achievement.
What?
Aptitude or achievement. Well, it'll come to you.
Well, whatever. And this was the first year that it had been in existence, this examination.
That is when Uncle Jot was in the 9th grade?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, didn't he leave school at the end of the 9th grade?
Yeah.
Oh.
He took it and passed it. He was the only boy. Now, you'll hardly believe this now. He was the only boy who passed it. And the nun said to him, "Don't tell anybody that you passed." Something that you'd hardly believe.
Well, why?
Because I don't know. I never did know.
Well, what was the purpose of the test?
I don't know. What was the purpose of the test? I suppose to see what your score was in the different subjects. That's the only way I can figure it out.
But he left school after that anyway.
Yes, he
Yeah,
left school after
okay.
that.
And
But someone may have had a relative who was a boy who didn't pass it. I don't know. But the nun said to him, "Don't tell anybody that you passed that examination." And my mother never ferreted it out. I'm surprised that my mother didn't, because she was one of those who would, why?
Yeah.
He passed it and he's entitled to the credit for it. But anyway, he left high school. He left school then. And then he worked for, what did I say he worked?
Well, the tool company, printing house, and then he went to Spalding's,
Spalding.
and he was either the purchasing agent or the assistant.
Yeah.
Then we got on to Catherine. He started going with
Yeah.
Catherine when he was.
She lived in Chicopee.
Well, she lived in Chicopee, and then she encouraged him years later
Years
to
later.
take this Regents exam in New York, which he took and passed. Now, what did he do from then on in?
Then he went to New York. Was it New York or Boston? Boston University.
Boston University.
And
Now, isn't that odd, though? He took a Regents exam in New York and then went to Boston.
well, that's the only place there was the exam.
Oh, and the Regents exam, if he passed it, gave him the equivalent of a high school diploma.
Yeah.
Okay, so that entitled him to go to Boston University.
Right.
Now he had 4 years of college ahead of him.
Yes.
Or did he go right into the law school? You
He
see,
went
Wait a
law
minute.
school.
He went
You
right to
didn't-
the law school.
right.
You didn't have that.
you didn't
No.
have to have
No.
that, right? So he went really after 9th grade, and then a series of the 2 jobs and quite a number of years. In the meantime, he went right to law school.
That's good.
Go ahead.
He was really a brilliant fellow.
Mm.
He was. And
What happened to
then
Catherine?
and he broke up.
Well, he had only gone with Catherine for 12 years.
14 years.
14, and she was a little tired of waiting.
Yeah, well, can you blame her?
Impatience.
Now we're outlining Catherine's qualities. I'll tell you what she had: endurance. Nothing else.
She didn't have the tricks of the trade.
Oh.
Well, then, of course, he passed his bar. Took it only once. He passed it. And so many fellows take it 3 or 4 or
I know
5
her.
times. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he went into, he opened his own office on Worthington Street.
Polite building.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Where he was until he died.
Where he was at.
Mhm.
And he was really a brilliant fellow. But he lived a lonely life. And so did, well, I think Dan lived a lonely life, but a happier life, because he involved himself with all his nieces and nephews.
Right.
Jet didn't. Jet was,
Well, when he did, poor Uncle Jack, it was in a disciplinary way.
Right.
yes.
Or an
Pick up the
instructive
paper,
Yeah.
instructive way, which
Right.
isn't the way the
Wasn't a
game
fun
were
type.
poor, no.
No. And Uncle Dan wasn't that type.
Yeah.
Uncle Dan loved all of his nieces and nephews.
Oh,
And perhaps Uncle Jet did too, but in a different
In his
way.
own
No
way,
hard
he
show.
did, right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
he did. He was, his intentions were good.
And then, of course, there was May.
Right.
And Uncle Jet lived to be 73. Was
He
it
died
three?
in July 1966. When was he born? Because we were on our trip when he died.
Let me see. He was born in, he was 5 years younger than I, older than I.
It would be 1892.
Yeah.
You were born in 1897, that's right. I was thinking it was
Yeah.
1898.
Uh-huh.
1892,
Uh-huh.
I think he,
1966.
no, he was 74. Wait a minute, wait a minute. He would have been 74 August 13th. And he
Okay.
died in
July, around the
23rd.
23rd.
Right, it was a Saturday, and I think it was a Saturday or a Friday.
It was a Friday night.
Friday night, we got the
Friday.
news,
Yeah.
Saturday night.
Was it the 23rd?
We were on a trip,
23rd, yes. Uncle May died on the,
just before we
Oh,
left, the
yeah.
11th.
and he died on, the Jet died on the 23rd, yes.
We went on the 15th or 16th of July on our cruise, and we got the news. Lawrence sent me a cablegram. Now, let me see, Aunt Annie, then Uncle Judd.
That was
And
Uncle Jet.
That was Uncle Judd. And then Uncle Nay, right?
Nay,
Mhm.
Nay was 3 years older than I was. See, there was a little girl born 3 years younger, 3 years before, no, a year and a half before me.
Oh, between Uncle Nay and you.
Yes.
Right.
And she was stillborn.
Oh.
And then I was born. And I remember, this is non,
Hey, that's cute, Aunt Annie. The other little girl, the one that preceded you, was born.
stillborn, yeah.
Mm.
The little was stillborn. And then a year and a half later,
Well, what did the doctor say? Just tell the whole story.
and he said, if she becomes pregnant again, don't come to me. And she didn't go to him until just before it was time, she was ready to deliver. And because these births were all at home.
Oh, sure.
And he said, tut, 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 what have we got here? And after 3 pains, I was born.
That was it.
Yeah. And I was perfectly healthy, excepting that I was a very delicate baby. And of course that's quite understandable. My father died immediately after I was born. And of course naturally my mother was heartbroken. And Dr. Kilroy, do you ever remember him,
No.
Dr. Kilroy? He used to live up on Round Hill Street. He has had two
That's all right.
daughters, Marie and what's the other one's name? Marie Kilroy. I know the woman. Mrs. Leahy is her
Uh-huh.
name. Well, anyway, my mother called. Now he was not the doctor that made the delivery. I don't know what his name was. but he came, and my mother engaged him to take